Hello, this is MLRose. The time now is 6:36, and this is the Rose Room Discussion Podcast Show hosted by me, MLRose, all rights reserved by my trademark Intelligent Sounds. I am here in my place of, you know, comfort, home, broadcasting live on three platforms right now. I just wanted to let you know the songs you hear in the background are produced by me, all rights reserved by my trademark Intelligent Sounds. And I'm going to get into some topics. The first topic that I'm going to talk about today is sacrificing with dark forces. The second topic I want to talk about is demonic worship. The third and final topic is consequences after. For instance, when I talk about sacrificing with dark forces, I'm truly speaking on that there are some people out there right now who believe that somehow there's no need to work for anything that you get anymore. And when you're not really truly working for what you want, you you sometimes tend to want it faster than normal. Um, I believe hard work and effort and putting in that type of work and effort will result in, you know, the fruits of your labor. So we're living in a day and age, and I keep expressing this throughout every show. We people have a microwave mentality. I need to get that coin, and I also need to get that trademark. Um, Everything is done in a microwave minute. People don't want to work anymore. They don't want to do hard work. Um, when it comes to getting things, we're seeing that people feel like it's either now or never. And that mindset mentality is very dangerous because of what's offered now and through these different avenues that are illegal. We see that people are more prone to be shifted towards doing illegal activity nowadays to get fast income. One of the growing trends is human trafficking. Human trafficking also goes with child sex slavery. Child sex slavery goes into child pornography. Child pornography goes into organ, uh, you know, harvesting. So harvesting, if you don't know what I mean, is pretty much people kidnapping underage children or people of a certain age group or nationality or race that are healthy, taking them to places, um, murdering them, and harvesting their organs to sell them to people who are pretty much in bad conditions but have lots of income that can benefit from it. Um, with that, to me, that's in the same category as sacrificing with dark forces because what you're doing is you're interfering with somebody else's life course, their purpose on this planet, and you're cutting their life short for somebody else who made multiple mistakes, who didn't do righteous by themselves or their own well being and taking care of themselves. And they perceive just because they have $1 million that they can pay somebody $50,000 to kidnap four children because these children may not have a value to others due to their race, color, origin, creed, or their situation or financial stability in society. This now becomes a norm, which I stated is why human trafficking, child exploitation, child sexual exploitation, child pornography. Um, then organ harvesting has become such a big business now. Um, if you haven't seen the movie by this actor who produced it, Mel Gibson, it's about a lot of children being human trafficked and some of them also not coming back. But it also shows some parts of what happens to them. On the other flip side, when a lot of these children don't make it back, they're pretty much, how can I state this, extinguished from life. And when they're extinguished from life, their internal organs are harvested and sold to the highest bidders on these markets. On these markets are a lot of people who do what I call sacrificing with dark forces. For one, because they're taking an innocent person's life, they're taking that person's life for their benefit. The benefit has nothing to do with serving a higher power of peace and happiness. It has something to do with serving a lower power of evil and deception and a cowardly manner. That's why most of the people you see that are involved with these type of organizations seem to have lots of histories of child exploitation, child abuse, child rape, child neglect. They're drug addicts, dope fiends, meth heads, tweakers, people who don't have a high vibration for themselves and they think less of anybody else that's doing something that's particularly constructive. Like I said, we live in a day and age of people who want to get something quicker than normal. They don't want to work for it. They feel like as if it's an easy thing, easy money. That's why you have human trafficking, because for one, um, some people are looking to pay $2,000 to $3,000 for children, and certain type of females or certain type of groups of minority nationalities of people due to their heritage or skin color or their body makeup or even their health being a attribute to another person who could benefit from it, which is what I was stating is Orvis is sorry I said Orvis harvesting organs. Um, Harvesting organs are pretty much one of the most sick sacrificial types of things that go on in society. As we go back as far as to, I think maybe the 1800s or probably even farther than that, you would call that sacrificing to the gods or things of that nature. Um, a lot of sacrificial type of things that happen throughout history started in what time, people would ask. And sacrificial practices involve the offering of humans, animals, or other material possessions to deities, entities in earthly form, or things that had no type of true organic appearance. They were deemed as forces unknown, unexplainable, um, and people felt like this was a way to get motivation. You know, as you look back for us to the civilizations, the first civilizations, they believed that killing a donkey or animal or something that nature would bring rain, would bring good prosperity to their villages. If they sacrificed animals, they felt like it would bring um, balance. It would cure natural disasters. Um, Ancient Israelites, they did it for a long time, worshiping, and they saw it as a way of cleansing. Um, It's really a deep, chaotic understanding of mindset, because now in this day and age, as we press forward in the 21st century and beyond, and this millennium, we don't have those type of mindsets, but we still have people who practice these sacrificing with dark forces type of arts. Um, Human sacrifice, particularly to things like the sun gods, the unknown dark realms, the entities that are seen in these books that are of unclean forces, unclean spirits. Even the Vikings did sacrificing. Historically, they found accounts where they had human remains placed in these different areas, and for some reason, they felt like certain women were bad luck too, also on boats, so they would sacrifice them. And to me, all of this never really paid off for mankind or humanity itself, because as you can see, all these sacrifices didn't stop all the violence, all the drugs, all the chaotic or chaos type of thinking or lifestyles that are going on to this day. So, sacrificing with dark forces is kind of a mankind decline in intelligence, I would say. Um, the majority of religions even believe in human sacrifice. It lets you see how far we have came. Even Christianity itself, when it was coming of age, they did a crusade, claiming that they were crusading for Christ, and they would go around to lands, claiming that they were cleansing the lands, and they would kill, murder, and they would put people on crosses. You had the Aztecs, known for large human sacrificing, particularly. They did it too. They practiced this with children through major festivals and royal funerals. So, the Egyptians also did sacrificing in their dynasties and put pharaohs into burial sites for the afterlife. They would take even their servants, their favorite servants, and they would voluntarily murder themselves or take some type of poison to kill themselves so they can be with their pharaohs in the afterlife. So, sacrificing with dark forces is something that has been going on for a very long time. But as you can see, the results of it have never been anything of constructive, you know, trying to figure out the word to say that would be proper for this type of specification of what I'm trying to get out is it's not benefiting anything. It never benefited nothing for anyone. We see now people sacrificing with dark forces as to taking children hostage and then raping them and then murdering them. And then later on, we find out this person is some type of worshiper of dark forces or dark, mysterious entities, or they follow some type of occult, which is another mindset of a sick, lost mental health person. So within this day and age, there's a lot of people who think that it's cool to sacrifice somebody else. Now, we know that some of this complex thinking comes from a lot of belief. It comes from following. It comes from not being a critical thinker. People who are easily influenced. When you meet people that are easily influenced, they don't know who they are, what they are. They believe anything anybody tells them. They're easily misled. They're quick to fall into these type of groups. They're quick to join something that has no true narrative just to be, seen, or either to get that attention that they're missing or to motivate them to do things in a group setting that they feel comfortable with, because by themselves they're not really truly sure of where they should go in life. And these practices are largely still evolving in society as we see it now. You can consider that we're in the 21st century, okay? And people are still thinking in this manner. Um, and we don't really understand why people feel like they will get some energy from something that they don't even know what is the outcome or the consequences of doing so. If you look at a lot of these scary movies, or I would say horror movies, and people playing with Ouija boards, playing with skeletons or ancient deities, relics, or bringing back stuff from tribal lands that were cursed with multiple people who were sacrificed and killed, it always seems to have a bad ending, such as like if you watch Poltergeist, the movie that they had, for instance, in that movie, there were multiple people during the filming of that movie who had accidents, who even died after the movie, or died during making the movie. So that should tell you. And what they were doing in the movie, they were doing actual real chants because they wanted to bring the authentic, you know, type of movie set, so people can get captivated by this type of knowledge of people using unclean spirituality or dark forces. So what they did a lot of research. They got experts and they brought them onto the set. I heard they were on a real area for people who passed away. It was just a lot of stuff. They used real bones. So it just lets you see that, people play with forces that are dark and don't understand them. I talked about this in one of my other Rose Room podcast shows about dark matter and dark energy, you know, and people tapping into that now with this knowledge of scientific belief that it holds some type of value or information, or the Big Bang Theory, or it can either link us to evolution or things of that nature. Um, Certain things are not to be messed with, and some things are meant to stay where they're at and not to be used, because I don't believe mankind has the right mindset to understand certain things in this state of our maturity as we grow as human beings and our evolution keeps going. To me, we're still at the teenage part of our evolution. We haven't gotten to the adult part of our evolution because we don't even understand the respect for each other. We find everything bad about each other and laugh at it and try to use those weaknesses to attack each other, to break each other down. So to deal with something that is the unknown, that has been here before the existence of humankind, is really dangerous. And that's why I believe that most of these people that are sacrificing human lives, they don't really understand what it's about, but they think they're doing an offering. We even have people who believe that, if a person is sick or they're mentally ill or they're a burden on them, that they should sacrifice that person. And then they feel like they should also get some type of income for it. So we have people, like I stated to you before, I had a blood relative who was trying to put a insurance policy on me because this person thought when I was younger I was going to end up, lost in the streets or something. This is just their uh, mindset. This is not the mindset of anybody that's thinking logical. This is the mindset of a person who is selfish. Most people who have this mindset are narcissists. They're selfish people. They don't understand other human lives. They don't have any type of feelings or emotions for a person. So they just perceive that, whenever a person is not doing what they want, they're not really good for nothing. They don't understand we all have different mindsets, different feelings, emotions, different layers to us. We have all of our futures put into a path that is only meant for us. And that way that we're going is a way that was dictated by a force that we don't even understand or we can't even comprehend at this time. Okay. That's why you have people saying they had occurrences, have deja vu, have things that happen and keep reoccurring. Um, they may not have wanted to do something, but somehow they get a calling, they get a gut feeling. These are things that we don't really truly grasp the knowledge of. We don't know why they exist. We have all types of different definitions why they exist. We have different type of theories. People put together all kind of information and gather it and try to get their sources and come to a conclusion on something. But at the real root of it, we don't really know. So when I'm saying people sacrificing with dark forces, I mean, like I stated, we have people giving drugs to people purposely for them to overdose. Like I said, I have people that I know in my bloodline who have done so. I don't agree with them. I don't find it to be anything of amusement. I don't find it to be anything that they should have put together any type of logical plan to proceed in without the proper authorities or without that person's consent. We have people that want people to off them. We have, what do you call that? I think it's called illegal suicide, where people take pills or something of that nature and they want to legally die based upon the fact that they may be suffering from cancer or AIDS or other things of that nature. But I don't even agree with that, because in this day and age, it's very mysterious. They have all types of cures and you can be easily cured. And I just feel like nobody has the right to dictate another person's life or existence, whether or not that person is going through something, whether or not you feel some type of way about that person, or whether or not you're uncomfortable about that person's position or their disposition towards you. Like I said, when people are sacrificing people, they're doing it through many type of avenues. We have people that are giving people drugs to overdose purposely because they feel like they're a burden in their families. We have people that are poisoning people due to the fact that they want to get insurance money. We have people that are, like I stated to you, kidnapping and human trafficking, then harvesting children's or young adults' organs to sell, which are another form of unclean dark force, sacrificing. So these are different things that are sometimes happening right under our eyes, and we don't really too much pay attention to it. I've been paying attention to it lately because I've just been dealing with a lot of people who have a bad aura around them, and I've been trying to figure out why and what they're involved in. And when I have conversations, it kind of gives me a good presumption of their mind state. So, sacrifice is an act or offering made to a deity. A sacrifice can serve as something that is to praise, for thanksgiving, to be a member of, or to grant access or success. So, within that, when you're looking at certain people, they're even saying, hey, you can sacrifice certain things to get success from unclean forces. And when you're dealing with unclean forces and dark forces, you're dealing with unclean beings. That's going to bring me into my next topic. That is demonic worship. Sacrificing with dark forces leads you to demonic worship. Demonic worship is deities, entities, spirits, unclean spirits, unnatural mystic arts, unclean spirituality, possession. All these things are linked in. Some people feel like even to become a member of certain tribes or groups or elite um, type of families, you will be told you have to sacrifice something or someone. As you can see with these recent cases of a lot of entertainers in the states of United States of America, a lot of them are linked to a lot of things that you would call demonic worship, um, sexual demonic deviancy, um, forcing themselves upon young girls, young boys, um, having a history and a pattern of doing it over and over, keeping catalogs, um, even, being a serial rapist and a part of groups that do this on a daily basis and get some type of, I guess, income from achieving these type of goals, from rape, um, and then they get together with other people and they share information. And these people are usually a part of some type of, I would say, um, group, or I would say, how I would put it in a better perspective, association or associates in a type of practice. And these practice usually deal with unclean demonic worship because they'll meet in very dark places. They'll hide their identities. They'll even bring young kids or women there so they can all engage in raping in a group event or sacrificing in a group event. Um, I know some people may not have heard, but it was a gentleman that was a well-known radio, I guess, journalist, and he also was a VJ and DJ. He had went up to somewhere to Washington or Oregon, um, and the story goes like this. This is the not the 100% story that they told in the news, but this is the story that other people stated to the web. That the place that he went to, they had a group of young men that were part of some type of demonic worship or satanic cult. That when people would go out to a certain area of the woods of hiking, so because this gentleman went out hiking, they would wait for people, and they would wait for them to be in groups of one or two, and they would attack them for some occult reasons. Now, I don't know if this is 100% true, but this is what the story says, that this gentleman went out there on a hike. They said he was an advocate hiker. He'd done it before, but all of a sudden he came up missing, stuff on the trail, blood, things of this nature. Looked like he was attacked, footprints everywhere. And I've heard of these type of groups, and these snub is like the snub. They do snub videos, which is another demonic form of worship and attack and sacrificing people with dark forces and dark energy. They would invite a person out to a place that's very isolated, that's away from, you know, society on a norm, where there's any law enforcement, there's anybody that can help them. And they would gather 10 to 15 people that have a grudge against this person or even more. They will wait to the middle of the night at a certain time because, everything is numbers when it comes to sacrificing these demonic forces, these unclean spirituality groups. They do it on numbering, timing, dates, and events. So, long story short, these snub groups make snub videos to where they bring people out and they attack them. They will harm them and hurt them and unalive them, with lots of people being involved with it because these people have hatred. They don't believe in a peaceful way of life. They have lots of anger. They have lots of mental health. I heard they even have places where they meet up and they attack each other, which I find it very crazy that a bunch of people would come in a group with weapons to harm each other, to kill, to, unalive each other. But we see it happening here also too in modern day society when we look at gangs. We look at families that are involved with illegal activity. They're also following dark forces and some form of demonic worship because they're putting other people's lives in danger when they have their scrimmages in society in front of others and can pull out weapons that cause catastrophic damage. That's why we have lots of mass shootings here, which is another form of sacrificing to dark forces. Because when these people are firing their firearms, they don't even know who they're aiming at. And because of their adrenaline rushing, their mindsets racing, their fear, they're willing to hurt anyone. And they don't care about the consequences. And this becomes the norm. So demonic worship has many forms that it shows up in. Then we have those who are truly just demonic worshipers. They are full-fledged showing themselves. They wear the allure, they wear the makeup, they wear the tattoos, they put on all of the aspects to show you that they worship these type of beings. They have a very rude disposition. Everything with them is negative and anger and hatred. And that's just their mindset. So, you have groups like that. And like I said, they all seem to be involved with dark forces, dark worship. Some would say that the group, how can I state this? I don't want to see, uh, I don't want to spell their name out, but pretty much the group that is running the Collider underground, let's just put it like that. The Collider that's trying to recreate the Big Bang Theory. They're stating, like I said, they're also into worshiping dark forces or dark entities because they're trying to repeat something that is ungodly, meaning that you cannot do what the creator of life has done. You cannot create your own world within a world and then think you're going to be God over something and you don't even know what you're doing because you can, but like I stated to you, I believe that we're still in a teenage mindset of evolution as human beings. We're not in an adult mindset. And with teenage mindsets, that's why you see that all these things that they create, it seems to be catastrophic events that are happening when they create them. Like, for instance, the creation of plastic. We have islands of plastic that are in the ocean that they can't even resolve to come together to even clean up. So it's letting you see that we're not really truly ready to be dipping and dabbing into sacrificial practices. And sacrificial practices been going on for 5,000 years. It's really something that is not new. Demonic worship has been here since BC, before Christ. Um, During the Bronze Age, it was here. And during the Iron Age, it was here. So Iron Age. I want to pronounce that correctly. It's just that crucial thinking and fast expectations of getting things done without really truly working for them, I think has pushed a lot of people into sacrificing with dark forces and demonic worship. And at this day and age, we're seeing a lot of people lose faith in religion due to all of the things of sexual misconduct. We're even finding out that some people that are even a part of the religions that we deem to be highly, you know, sought after by people to join and are placed on a plateau and seen and deemed as the pillars of our society are even untrustworthy. And what they're doing behind closed doors is very demonic. They have practices of hurting and harming young children sexually. So, who's to say why these things are truly happening? But we need to shed light on these things. And these dark forces are not going away anytime soon because society seems to be getting more and more out of control. And with that happening, people are now really losing their faith in everything. Um, a lot of spirituality also has accepted some of these demigods and false gods and have a priority to find things to worship and to also use sacrificial, you know, givings or sacrificial events to worship unclean forces, which I would say are the same thing as demonic forces. As humankind, we can't find any true evidence of any entities that exist. We may say we see a vampire, or we see a werewolf or a Bigfoot, but there's no true 4K video evidence of these things existence in real time where we all can grasp and see it through our own eyes on national television. But just the aspect of it being something that is different, and like I say, people having these different dispositions and are really not on the side of understanding anymore and loss of faith. This is why people are doing these type of things, because they don't really understand who they are. And like I stated before, mental health is one of the big consequences. And when we look at, like I said, all these movies, it always seems to come out bad for the people that are involved with it. You know, we look at The Conjuring. We look at I guess what's the movie about the young girl who's playing with the Ouija board? We look at all these different movies and they're opening doors to things that they don't know about. And then they're also trying to gain power. And we also look at the movie where I think it was the five females, and they were in college, and they were doing some sacrificial things. I think the movie was about five females in college who were doing sacrificial devil worshiping. And the movie I think was called Satanist School for Girls. I think they also had the sorority, the Institute of Sarah, Devil's Prey. So all these movies pretty much had some type of premises of people doing things that were unholy, and they were able to get some type of attributes from it. So that's what I was saying. We're living in a fast-paced world where people feel like, you know what, I don't really have to work. I don't have to do anything at all. I don't want to work. I know that there's a book. They said if you conjure up this spirit and call its name 7 times and uh, cut a cat's head off and eat chicken's blood and dance naked, you can get $1 million. You know, and then on top of that, it's not even any better when you have movies giving you directions to do so. You have cartoons doing it now. Cartoons are showing sacrificial events happening with dark forces and demonic entities. Now, sometimes I have to turn off some of these cartoons because when I find out about the origins of them, some of the writers and directors, they're actually trying to find authentic spiritual spells to use to make their cartoons or their shows are more popular, because they're like, oh, you watch that show? Yeah, they use real devil worshiping. Like, what? And then you got to think about it. This stuff is being given to children. So when children have access to something that shows sacrificing with dark forces and it's demonic worship, what's going to happen next? They will think this is deemed to be normal. If you're deeming something like this to be normal, Why do you think society would get any better? If I decide to create a place, for instance, I can just say like um, Oregon State, you know, let drugs become the norm. Look at the catastrophic events that's happening there now. You have streets and streets full of people that are just overdosing, using drugs. They're selling drugs of all sorts. It's chaos up there. There's no constructive um, way of living, of peace up there. Most of the people I see now are leaving out of that state and going to Washington and come back to California because they don't want to put up with a place that has nothing but drug addicts and people that have no true souls, have no motivation, have no care for life, that are involved in sacrificing each other by using drugs that lead you to dark places mentally and spiritually and lead you to breakdown, having catastrophic things happen around you where you're not even in tune enough to even be prepared to help another person save their lives because you're so high and so gone off of drugs. And to me, it becomes more and more evil there because now when you have multiple people dying in front of you, multiple people dying, that means now you don't really have any type of connection to life and the preservation of life. You don't care no more. It becomes dark, evil. The mindset of people becomes very demonic. People are stealing from each other. When people pass away, they're going in their pockets, taking stuff out of their pockets. They're taking their clothing, they're taking their shoes, their jewelry, they're pawning it. It becomes a very evil, demonic place. And when that becomes an evil place, that's like a lifestyle. And a lifestyle to me is set up like a worship of demonic type of mindset, because it becomes a norm now to just be a thief, evil, heartless, and to watch people suffer and die, and for you to get that next hit of drugs by robbing your neighbor next to you. And it repeats itself over and over and over again. And this is why I said to you, the sacrificing with dark forces and demonic worship is done in so many ways now. We're not even paying attention to it no more. It's becoming too popular. It's becoming too regular in society. And it's like we're almost celebrating it. So with that said, I'm going to move to my last and final topic. My last and final topic is the consequences after. So we know places like Oregon, they allow drugs to become free. All kind of drugs, right? We've seen how people are sacrificing each other by either robbing, murdering each other, um, watching each other overdose, stealing from each other. It becomes a norm. It becomes very evil in the atmosphere around the places. It brings a very foul type of lifestyle. The value of human life goes down in those areas. It becomes like a normal event. It becomes a natural event occurrence, and people become numb to it, which then leads them to have a very hardened type of disposition. People become more angrier. People then have to tighten up. They're not really happy anymore. Their mood changes. The spirituality of people from being happy becomes very angry, very offensive. Everybody's on a defensive mode. It becomes a very dark place, and the energy becomes pretty much demonic. Then it becomes a way of life, a lifestyle. The lifestyle then becomes a way of thinking. The way of thinking becomes an occult. The way of a cult becomes a religion. And then the people within that area follow this type of, process. And this is what I'm saying to you, that the consequences afterwards are pretty much towns that have been destroyed. When you look at San Francisco was aided by dark forces. Remember, in San Francisco, they had the Devil's Church. So people feel like they wanted to have freedom to worship dark entities, dark spirituality, dark forces, demonic worship. As the years they removed the crosses from San Francisco, more drugs came into San Francisco, more people had lost their lives due to overdosing. It became a normal sight to see on the street individuals panhandling for drugs. People deeming it as it was something very funny. Children then became much more wilder because the environment was pretty much um, letting them just roam freely without no consequence. There was no law enforcement like it used to be because everybody's living in a democratic type of mindset. Um, Everything's supposed to be free for everybody to enjoy. We've seen more gangs move in. We've seen the value of property go down. We've seen epidemics of people bringing in new and uncontrollable drugs. With that, it became a lifestyle. That lifestyle then opened the door to a lot of people having no faith because they had no faith in society. The city itself became very aggressive. A lot of robberies, a lot of shootings, murders, people being attacked in broad daylight, people being robbed. These were the consequences of sacrificing your peace and happiness and comfortable lifestyle and security of lifestyle to allow a free society in that had no type of no holds bars thinking, had no type of um, security, and was pretty much lost into you know, a world of chaos and confusion. And it became a just a norm to where you had people as if they were in a cult joining in every day, coming from far and wide and everywhere just to come to San Francisco because they felt it was a free place to get high, to get drugs, to live lawlessly, to destroy property, to harm and attack people, to murder people. It became a very like much like hell, a demonic place. And the consequences was due to the fact that nobody cared. You see what I mean? So that's what I was saying about sacrificing with dark forces. To me, can be done in different manners, different ways, and different styles, but it all has the same consequences at the end. Whether you're doing it um, out front, whether you're doing it very sneaky and connivingly, where you're human trafficking and kidnapping people, whether you're doing it in a way that's politically done to where you're making it lawless and you want everybody to be accepted for who they are freely and whatever they do is deemed um, just free game, but there's no type of structure of any type of consequences for what they do that is against the law, and you allow it to just be a wild, chaotic place. And you're doing these things because you're bringing in unclean, natural thinking, unclean spirituality. You're bringing in um, a whole different atmosphere. Because have you ever been to a city before and all the people are very joyful, they're very happy, they're productive, they take care of business, it's always sunny, the birds are chirping, there's no drug addicts outside. Now, when you visit a city that has drug addicts, that has gangs outside, that has shootings, that they don't clean up the streets, they have filth on the streets, they have urine, feces, there's drugs being smoked, it brings a dark force of energy towards you. It brings a lot of stuff that is not truly natural. because no one should live like that in any manner that has any type of common sense or any type of logical thinking. So it becomes an occult, a lifestyle. It becomes people joining in every day just to come to that area. It becomes something that they worship in a way because they need to be there because it's in a congregation of people who follow a path of lifestyle that is deemed to be fit and okay because there's lawlessness in certain places. And the consequences of that lawlessness is chaotic, dark forces and of worshiping and sacrificing each other to demonic entities. And if you don't think that that's really true, you can go ahead and do your research. And I'm pretty sure you'll see that Sodom and Gomorrah was pretty much the same way. It was a dark place. They had men raping children, they had children being murdered, they had men beating women, they had killings, they had murders all the time. People was drunken. They didn't clean up the town. They had feces everywhere. And the place was destroyed because it was destroyed due to the fact that most of the people there did not care. They didn't have any type of real true motivation. And they felt like, okay, if this is the way of lifestyle here, I'm going to join in. Just like an occult, just like a congregation of people who follow a church, who follow a lifestyle. When you see people in a church, they pray every day, right? When you see people that follow a cult lifestyle of gangs or street life, they prey on other people with theft, murder, deceiving them, deception, lying, stealing. And you will say, wow, that's very evil. Very evil leads to what? Evil forces that are demonic, unclean, unnatural energy. People who harm you for no apparent reason. When you're looking at people on the street that use drugs every day of their life, and they haven't had a chance to sit down and have a normal, wholesome meal, have any nutrition in their bodies, to have sleep or rest, what happens? They're usually crazed. They're insane. They're babbling. They will just lash out and attack anybody with a knife. You don't know what they're going to do. You deem them to be sick, mentally ill. You say something's wrong with him. He's crazy. Yeah, he must be, he must be lost. Lost, mentally ill, crazed. He must be, some people go into depression. Depression is where? When you're falling down somewhere that's into a dark place. Most people that are depressed, they don't want to be around anybody. They don't talk. They want to be in places that are very lowly dimmed of light, where they have no contact with anybody. It's like they're following some type of spirituality that pushes them away from anything that is of the light or anything that is of people that have joy. So what I'm saying to you is that these sacrificing with dark forces and demonic worship, the consequences are pretty much what we are living in right now in the society we're living in, because we just seem to act like it's normal now. That's why places like Oregon, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and so forth and so on exist, with people that are just getting high off of drugs, murdering, killing each other, dying on a daily basis, overdosing, stealing from each other, robbing others, committing theft, gangs fighting amongst each other, mass shootings, harming people. It goes on unchecked because these forces right now are really at work. And some people may say, no, it's not. It's just mankind being ignorant. Well, I would say it in some way you could argue with that, but if you look at it, it's in too many cities in America. And America should have higher standards. We shouldn't be at this low of a standard to allow people that have no faith in anything to walk around here causing catastrophic events to happen, and us just being the victims of it based upon these people not having any faith in anything, being led by dark forces, wanting to sacrifice others, and not caring about the consequences. You know, and like I said it before at the beginning of my show, human trafficking is something that really needs to be looked at. Because if you have any faith in a higher deity or a higher being or a better way of life or a higher spirituality to where you deem life to be very um, fragile and to be something that is to be nourished, or taken care of. I said nourished, nourished, nourishment, nourishment. I can't pronounce that word right now, but you know what I'm trying to state to you. A life that needs to be taken care of and need to be sought after, and a person that needs help and needs to be pretty much seen like a plant. It needs water, sunlight. It needs just everything to let it grow and develop. And we sometimes now think that that's not normal or some. I don't know why that's okay, but this is the world we're living in right now. It has become very just cold, heartless, and dark. I don't know if we're close to the end. I can't state that because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this is the end of the world. This is the end of this," and I can't state that. I'm not the creator of life. I just know that a lot of people are allowing things to go unchecked in front of them, and it makes no logical sense to me. And I think in my mind, like places like Oregon, San Francisco, and Los Angeles and Philadelphia should not be allowed to have people running wild with no type of restraint, and people are just sacrificing other people and doing unnatural activity and harming people, and just chaos going on around you. And that's my opinion. I can't state that everybody else thinks like that, because we have people somewhat that are on these, I would say, dark webs. To me, the dark web shouldn't even exist. In this day and age, with all the technology that we have, we can see all the way to outer space. We can see the other planets. We can take photos of things on other planets. Why can't we catch people here that's doing unclean, unnatural activities? We don't monitor these things. We're having so many catastrophic mass shootings going on. You know, there's nothing, you know, that's a hindrance to most of these individuals that have lost minds. And this is why I believe that these sacrificing and of dark forces and demonic worship still exist, because we don't do anything about it. We allow people just to run around here and do what they want to do, um, even though it's against the interests of everyone else that's wanting peace. And I don't understand how that's normal. Deception is everything nowadays, and people denouncing peace, denouncing um, their natural, you know, body in life, and denouncing their faith, denouncing wanting to be alive. It's just so much going on that we don't really know how to comprehend and to put a stop to. But we can if we wanted to. It's just that, the freedom of speech is something else nowadays. Are we doing it because we see people standing up for something that's of injustice? Or are we doing it because some of these people are just standing up to say something because they just are pretty much lost and don't know who they are, and they found a very unnatural way of lifestyle and want to harm others because they don't want to be productive And they feel like if they join these occults or groups that are pretty much connected to these type of things, they get some type of empowerment from them. And then at the end, the consequences are pretty much cities like we see: San Francisco, Oregon, you know, Los Angeles, and I can go on and on and on. And that's pretty much what I was trying to just get out there at this Rose Room podcast. You know, I don't speak about things that's like celebrities too much because it's a waste of time to me, like I always say. I want to speak about things that sometimes that don't get talked about. And I believe that, people are right now in a dark place and they're dealing with things that we don't understand. And spirituality and having peace and having happiness and being of mutual respect is very important right now, because you can lead another person down the wrong path by just, not acknowledging that they need help. And the consequences of that, like I state, could be another mass shooting because we're not really looking to put a stop to it, you know. And right now in America, I don't know how many mass shootings we had this year. It's just like every year they go up. And then we don't understand why, most of these people are able to get firearms. It's really strange. And it's like the society itself is just on the verge of breaking down over and over to the point to where it's just nothing really truly shown to have a foundation anymore. And we need to really start stepping up and calling things out for what it is. If you're seeing people in your neighborhood sell large amounts of drugs to children, or children engaged in hanging with a person that's trying to mislead them into gang life, as an adult, you should put your foot down because you're leading them down a dark path. And a dark path only leads them down to committing murder, committing harms to others in society, causing discomfort to the community, becoming a neighborhood a nuisance, attacking others. It just creates a demonic type of lifestyle. And the consequences are what we see in society. I mean, you can look at YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. All you see now is people arguing, yelling at each other about race, people angry about society, people wanting to harm people. We just seen with the young lady recently that was working at McDonald's, and her manager was telling her to leave early, and the young lady already had displayed on multiple times on a platform that she wanted to harm somebody. She showed, I guess, dolls she had that were cut up. She talked about it. It's just, and you can see it in her eyes. And then when it happened, nobody said anything. Like I said, this lady was being led by a dark force. She was looking to sacrifice somebody because the darkness in her mind wasn't, it wasn't, no light was shed on what she was saying. If somebody came in ahead of time and seen that she was making threats online towards her manager and shed some light to that darkness in her mind could have been, seen, and people could have then target what was going on with her and found a better solution and helped her out. But instead, they allowed her just to keep building into a place where she put a barrier around herself, and she's in a dark place with dark thoughts, dark spirituality, dark energy, dark forces. And she did something that was very evil. Some people call it devilish, selfish, demonic, you know? And then she had multiple intriguing conversations on a platform with multiple people that were even telling her to go harm this lady. Like they were a cult. They were egging her on. They wanted to see this. It was like a congregation of people that worship nothing but evil, demonic ways. So when you have a child that has nobody to talk to, they're in a dark place, they're surrounded by people that have a really hateful type of mindset that's cheering them on. The consequences is what we just seen that happened recently with the manager who had 6 children who was stabbed to death by the young girl. You know, this is what I'm saying to you. We got to step it up. We're so busy trying to disrespect each other and jealous of each other for achievements. But in society nowadays, people are like in a cult. They're in these occults to where they pretty much worship to want to see others commit crimes, and all they do is pull their phones out and record it while the crime is going on. I watched a video of a lady getting beat up by a man on the video on TikTok yesterday. I couldn't even watch it because I'm thinking to myself, all these people are passing by and all they're doing is pulling out a phone while a grown man is punching a woman. And this man threw this woman to the ground with so much force. It was just it was just horrifying to watch. But you see what I mean? When you're dealing with with dark thoughts in your mind, you're dealing with hateful thoughts in your mind, you're dealing with evil intentions, you're dealing with stuff that you don't want to really too much look at a better solution, and you don't care, you're willing to kill somebody, to harm somebody, to sacrifice somebody because that dark force in your mind tells you to do so, and that evil energy, that hateful thought, that hateful type of mindset to devour another person, to take them off of this planet, to make them lose their life because of that hateful force within you, that evil force, which can be a demonic force, and the way people will egg it on, like they're in a cult and a congregation of people who worship, showing these type of events happening on the internet and recording them. What happens with the consequences? What happens when children see this on the internet? Remember now, there's a lot of children that are underage that are getting on these platforms that are watching these videos of people being attacked, shot, beat up, assaulted, fighting for petty things, losing their mind, pretty much using drugs until they have lost their mental stability, and then they're striking out at people and attacking them. What are the consequences that we really need to see in order to stop all this? This world is really going to the dogs. I'm praying that it's not, but it's really up to us. We got to start doing something much more constructive with our time instead of just wasting our time trying to pity pat with BS and worrying about stuff that's not really constructive and trying to create problems when there is none, just based upon our personal feelings and our personal anger and hatred. Like I said, you have people that are in a dark place mentally. They don't want to get help. They don't want to seek no help. I just feel like it's good to take another person's life. It's okay to kidnap a child, to sacrifice them, to put them in human trafficking. It's okay to sacrifice a young college kid because she's not going to be missed because she's of a certain nationality and nobody wouldn't care, or my sexual deviancy, or my hateful thought process, or my evil thought process, and the way I feel, I don't care. I'm willing to sacrifice that person because I have a demonic mindset that don't have any type of true spirituality and don't see another life or another person as anything of value. I just don't give a damn. And the consequences is what we are looking at on a daily basis. It keeps repeating itself. I just want to know how many times does it have to repeat itself until we actually do something to put a stop to it. And this is true, man. You know, this is truly a horrifying topic, but we need to really understand why is it happening. We need to come to some type of conclusion and put a stop to it. Because you have people walking around here, man. They're just, people are not monitoring their pages. They're trying to reach out to people through conversations. And sometimes you gotta listen to these people, man. They're talking about stuff. Especially if somebody gets on a TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat talking about harming or hurting somebody, or fighting, or yelling and screaming, or having arguments with someone. That's a telltale sign of something only dark to happen. And we just act like we worship evil and want to see it more and more and have demonic mindsets until the consequences are something that affects us. And does it need to be more of these shootings in schools and bars, and on college campuses and hospitals? These shootings now are happening, occurring in any place at any time. Malls, we can't even relax and have normal, family time, or even just get together and go out and have peaceful day in society without having all these wild things happening. So with this conclusion of my show, I want to thank you for listening to the Rose Room discussion podcast show hosted by me, MLRose. All rights reserved by my trademark Intelligent Sounds. The topics I talked about was sacrificing with dark forces, demonic worship, and the consequences after. I hope this can wake you up because right now we really need a lot of help out here with the youth, with a lot of adults that are going through a lot of drugs, and they're not really stable minded people, and they're having children. These children are having children. And it's starting to become a really, really unbalanced place in our society where we're not really stepping up and finding solutions to the obvious things around us. But we're talking about we're ready to go and find quantum energy, but we can't even find a solution to get plastic trash out of the ocean. It's really deep, but I appreciate you. Thank you for joining. I'm gonna leave you with a slapper slumber, and I'm gone.